Welcome to the Blue Collar Tutor Test Preparation Series for the New York City Fire Department, S-13 Certificate of Fitness for Citywide Supervision of Standpipe Systems, and the S-14 Certificate of Fitness for Citywide Supervision of Multi-Zone Standpipe Systems. It is critical that you understand this material to pass the exam. If you haven't already, it is recommended that you watch the brief overview video at the beginning of this series before moving on to the subsequent volumes. After an initial run-through of the entire series, refer back to each of these volumes, as often as needed, until you are confident with the material covered in each section. Once you become proficient with all of the material in this course, continue on to the S-13 and S-14 practice test sections to test your knowledge of the material. Chapter 6. Definitions. Alarm Notification Appliance. A fire alarm system component, such as a bell, horn, speaker, light, text display or vibration device that issues an audible, tactile, and/or visual alert. Alarm signal. A signal indicating an emergency requiring immediate action, such as a signal indicative of a fire. Automatic ball drip. An automatic drain valve horizontally installed at the low point in the piping between the lower check valve and the fire department connection of an automatic sprinkler system. Water pressure from a fire department pumper automatically closes this valve. The valve automatically reopens when pressure ceases, permitting this piping to drain, thereby preventing freezing. Automatic standpipe system. A standpipe system that is attached to a water supply capable of supplying the system demand at all times. It requires no action other than opening a hose valve to provide water at hose connections. Auxiliary water supply, a supplementary source of water for a standpipe system. Branch line, a pipe system, generally in a horizontal plane, connecting not more than one hose connection with a standpipe. Central station, a facility that receives alarm signals from a protected premises and retransmits or otherwise reports alarm signals to the fire department. Combination standpipe and sprinkler system, a system where the water piping services, fire hose outlets for fire department use, and outlets for automatic sprinklers. Control valve, a valve controlling flow to water-based fire protection systems. Control valves do not include hose valves, inspector's test valves, drain valves, trim valves for dry pipe, pre-action and deluge valves, check valves or relief valves. OS&Y, outside stem and yoke valve, an indicating type of control valve used for fire standpipe systems. Curb valve, a non-indicating gate valve equipped with a cast iron extension box flush with a sidewalk with an operating nut of 1 1/4 inch. This valve is operated using a special curb key wrench and controls the municipal water supply serving the standpipe system. Deficiency, a condition in which the application of the component is not within its design limits or specifications. Critical deficiency, a deficiency that, if not corrected, can have an effect on the performance of the fire protection system. Non-critical deficiency, a deficiency that does not have an effect on the performance of the fire protection system, but correction is needed for the proper inspection, testing, and maintenance of the systems. Deluge valve, a water supply control valve intended to be operated by actuation of an automatic detection system that is installed in the same area as the discharge devices. Each deluge valve is intended to be capable of automatic and manual operation. Deluge systems are suitable for hazardous occupancies. Discharge device, a device designed to discharge water or a foam water solution in a predetermined, fixed, or adjustable pattern. Examples include spray nozzles and hose nozzles. Dry standpipe, a standpipe system designed to have piping containing water only when the system is being utilized. Manual dry standpipe, a dry standpipe system without an automatic water supply. This system requires the connection of fire department apparatus via the fire department connection for operation. Automatic dry standpipe. A dry standpipe system that is supplied by an automatic water supply. A dry or deluge valve is used to maintain the system without water until it is needed for firefighting purposes. Fire alarm system. Any system, including any interconnected fire alarm subsystem, of components and circuits arranged to monitor and enunciate the status of fire alarm or supervisory signal initiating devices. Fire department connection. A connection, normally on the exterior of the building, through which the fire department can pump supplemental water into the standpipe system, furnishing water for fire extinguishment to supplement existing water supplies, formerly referred to as a Siamese connection. Fire hose. A flexible conduit constructed with one or more reinforcements, or jackets, with or without a coating or covering, but with an approved non-permeable lining, or with an inner reinforcement between a protective cover and an approved non-permeable lining. Fire hydrant. A valve connection on a water supply system having one or more outlets that is used to supply hose and fire department pumps with water. Fire protection system. Approved devices, equipment and systems or combinations of systems used to detect a fire, activate an alarm, extinguish or control a fire, control or manage smoke and products of a fire or any combination thereof, including fire extinguishing systems, fire alarm systems, sprinkler systems, and standpipe systems. Fire pump. A pump that provides water at an increased volume and pressure dedicated to a fire standpipe system. A fire pump is a part of a fire standpipe system's water supply and may be powered by electric, diesel, or steam. The pump intake is either connected to the public underground water supply piping or a static water source, like a tank, lake, or reservoir. A pump used only to fill a tank is not a fire pump. The following fire pumps are required to be maintained in accordance with the New York City Fire Code. Automatic standpipe fire pump. A fire pump located at or below street level that supplies the lower 300 feet of a standpipe system or a combined standpipe and sprinkler system. Foam fire pump. A fire pump used to boost water supply pressures in a fire protection system where such systems use firefighting foam as an additive. Limited service fire pump. A fire pump with a motor rating not exceeding 30 horsepower and utilizing a limited service fire pump controller. Special service fire pump. A fire pump that is located above street level that receives its water supply from a gravity tank or suction tank supplying water to fire sprinkler/standpipe systems and/or fire department hose outlets. Special service pumps shall be maintained according to National Fire Protection Association 25 standard for fire pumps. Fold. A transverse bend or fold, occurring where the hose is lengthwise doubled over on itself, as on a pin rack. Gallons per minute. A measurement of water flow rate for a pump or a fire standpipe system, typically used to measure fluid flow rate, such as water or pump capacity. General supervision. Supervision by the holder of any department certificate who is responsible for performing the duties set forth in the New York City Fire Code, but need not be personally present on the premises at all times. Hose connection. A combination of equipment provided for connection of a hose to the standpipe system, including a hose valve with a threaded outlet. Hose types. Attack. A 2.5-inch fire hose, designed to be used by trained firefighters and fire brigade members to combat fires beyond the incipient stage. Booster. A non-collapsible hose used under positive pressure, having an elastomeric or thermoplastic tube, a braided or spiraled reinforcement, and an outer protective cover. Covered. A hose with a jacket covered and lined with a continuous synthetic rubber or plastic. The cover is usually thicker than a coating. Fire. A flexible conduit used to convey water. Hose valve. The valve to an individual hose connection. Occupant use. A 1.5-inch fire hose designed to be used by the building's occupants to fight incipient fires prior to the arrival of trained firefighters or fire brigade members. Unlined. A hose consisting of only a woven jacket that is usually of linen yarns and is of such quality that the yarn swells when wet, sealing the hose. In service. The status of a hose stored in a hose house, on a rack or reel, or on a fire apparatus that is available and ready for immediate use for an incident. This does not include a hose in the storage where it is not readily available to be put into service for an incident. In storage. A hose that is not readily available for use because it is not at the scene of an incident and not loaded on a vehicle that can transport it to the scene. In use. A hose being used during fire suppression or during training. Hose size. An expression of the internal diameter of the hose. Hose station. A combination of a hose rack, hose nozzle, hose, and hose connection. Hydraulic placard. A sign attached to a hydraulically calculated standpipe system indicating the design density, required gallons per minute, and pressure for the system to operate properly. Hydraulically calculated systems. A method of sizing standpipe piping using a prescribed amount of water to be delivered to the hydraulically most remote hose station. Impairment. A condition where a fire protection system or unit or portion thereof is out of order, resulting in the fire protection system or unit not functioning in a fire event. Impairment coordinator. The person responsible for ensuring that proper safety precautions are taken when a fire protection system is placed out of service. The building owners shall assign an impairment coordinator to comply with the requirements of this document. In the absence of a specific designee, the owner shall be considered the impairment coordinator. Labeled. Equipment or materials to which has been attached a label, symbol, or other identifying mark or an organization that is acceptable to the authority having jurisdiction and concerned with product evaluation, that maintains periodic inspection of production of labeled equipment or materials, and by whose labeling the manufacturer indicates compliance with appropriate standard or performance in a specified manner. Listed device. A fire protection component that has been tested to perform under parameters specified for its use by a nationally recognized testing agency. Underwriters Laboratory and Factory Mutual are the two most common agencies. Manual standpipe. A standpipe system that relies exclusively on the fire department connection to supply the system demand. Master pressure reducing valve. A pressure-reducing valve installed to regulate pressures for an entire fire protection system and/or standpipe system zone. Main drain. The primary drain connection, located on the system riser, also utilized as a flow test connection. These valves are typically globe pattern valves. Microbiologically influenced corrosion. Corrosion caused by the presence of microbes in the water supply that over time attack the interior of metallic piping, causing leaks, pitting, and blockages. Occupant use hose. A fire hose designed to be used by the building's occupants to fight incipient fires prior to the arrival of trained firefighters or fire brigade members. Out-of-service system. A fire protection system that is not fully functional, its operation is impaired or is otherwise not in good working order. Personal supervision. Supervision by the holder of a fire department certificate of fitness is required to be personally present on the premises or another proximate location acceptable to the department while performing the duties for which the certificate is required. Pounds per square inch. A unit of pressure measuring force per unit area. Pressure control valve. A pilot-operated pressure-reducing valve designed for the purpose of reducing the downstream water pressure to a specific value under both flowing residual and non-flowing static conditions. Pressure-reducing valve. A valve designed for the purpose of reducing the downstream water pressure under both flowing, residual, and non-flowing static conditions. Pressure regulating device. A device designed for the purpose of reducing, regulating, controlling, or restricting water pressure. Examples include pressure reducing valves, pressure control valves, and pressure restricting devices. Pressure restricting device. A valve or device designed for the purpose of reducing the downstream water pressure under flowing residual conditions only. Pressure relief valve. A valve designed for the purpose of releasing excess air or water pressure from a fire protection piping system. A pressure relief valve is not a pressure reducing valve. Pressure tank. A tank using air pressure to supply water for water-based fire protection systems. Tank contents are to be maintained at 1/3 air to 2/3 water. Service test. A hydrostatic test conducted by users on all in-service hoses to determine suitability for continued service. Standpipe system. An arrangement of piping, valves, hose connections, and allied equipment installed in a building or structure, with the hose connections located in such a manner that water can be discharged in streams or spray patterns through attached hoses and nozzles, for the purpose of extinguishing a fire, to protect a building or structure and its contents in addition to protecting the occupants. Piping installed in a building or structure that serves to transfer water from a water supply to hose connections at one or more locations in a building or structure used for firefighting purposes. Multi-zone standpipe. A standpipe system that is vertically subdivided, as required by the New York City Building Code, into zones to limit the maximum operating pressure in the system. Each zone will have its own individual automatic water supply. Strainer. A device capable of removing from the water all solids of sufficient size that will obstruct the water spray nozzles. Supervisory signal. A signal indicating the need for action in connection with the supervision of guard tours, fire extinguishing systems or equipment, fire alarm systems, or the maintenance features of related systems. Supervisory signal initiating device. An initiating device, such as a valve supervisory switch or tamper switch, a water level indicator, or low air pressure switch on a dry pipe system that triggers a supervisory signal. Testing. A procedure used to determine the status of a system as intended by conducting periodic physical checks on water-based fire protection systems, such as water flow tests, fire pump tests, alarm tests, and trip tests of dry pipe or deluge valves. These tests follow the requirements for acceptance testing at intervals specified in the appropriate chapter of the National Fire Protection Association 25/2011 edition. Water hammer. The surge in pressure when a high-velocity flow of water is abruptly shut off. The pressure exerted by the flowing water against a closed system can be 7 or more times that of the static pressure. Water spray. Water in a form having a predetermined pattern, particle size, velocity, and density discharged from specially designed nozzles or devices. Water supply. A source of water that provides the flows, expressed as gallons per minute, and pressures, expressed in pounds per square inch, required by the water-based fire protection system. Water tank. A tank supplying water for water-based fire protection systems. Wet standpipe system. A standpipe system having piping containing water at all times. This concludes Volume 2. Repeat each chapter as often as needed until you are confident with all of the material. A transcript of this material is provided for free by the New York City Fire Department. See the link in the description below to upload the transcript and additional reference guides that you'll need to familiarize yourself with in preparation for the exam. Post any follow-up questions in the comment section below. Subscribe to stay current on updates to existing exams and to be notified of new test preparation content. If you found this video helpful, please consider leaving a like. Thank you for watching.